Okay guys, let's see what all comes in the box for the Holystone HS360. Now I've not taken a look at this more than just a sneak peek in the box, so I don't know anything more than you guys at this very point. This will be more of the unboxing and the overview before we get outside for that flight review. So I can already tell there's going to be a case inside here, which of course I did sneak inside since it is cut open here, but not surprisingly there's a case. Holystone is pretty much a case with all their decent drones that are above toy grade now, and that's nice because as you can grab it and go. So pretty much to be expected from Holystone with the Holystone branding on it. It's a sort of a soft case. It's not super hard, but it'll protect the drone and make it easy and portable to carry around. So we'll go ahead and open it up. You got your foam in here as usual to protect everything. Here's your drone, an extra battery. I believe this one comes with 2 batteries. There's also a battery in the drone. And your controller, which has a little LCD screen here. We got our extra accessories and props and instruction manual and stuff in the back. So let's go ahead and take a look at the drone. Of course, it is foldable. So not surprising that it's foldable. Pretty much almost all of them now, they have to be really big if they're not foldable. Here's our brushless motors, and here is that 2-axis brushless gimbal. So as I mentioned, it looks a lot like the camera that I've seen on the SJRC. DEERC also rebrands that, and it would make sense because DEERC and Holystone are the same company, so it makes sense that they would be using this on both of their drones. So now it doesn't have a gimbal guard, surprisingly enough, on it, or a gimbal lock, so that's a little odd. I was looking around thinking maybe it fell off, but it didn't. So it's nice to be able to hold this in place so nothing gets damaged, but it's a pretty low chance anything's going to happen to it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the drone by folding out the arms. So you want to fold the rear arms. Oops, I started to press the power button there. The power button on this is sort of hidden. I'll show you in a minute. It's kind of cool how they did that. So here it is, all unlocked and into place. Again, this just really feels nice. Now, I would need to weigh this in a moment here, because I think this is going to be over 250 grams, but when it gets close to that weight, it's hard to just tell on your hand. So we need to weigh it to see if it's above that all crucial 250 grams. But here is the power button, which I hit with my thumb. You can see it here, but it's like below the body. Like it's not actually, it doesn't actually move. You're like pressing in on like a button up underneath the actual body. It's kind of cool. I like that it's hidden and it's sort of out of the way. And even though I was able to press on it, it's not something you're going to easily bump and turn the drone on or off. And let's see here. SD card slot. Yes, we do. And I'm 99% sure we would have one. It's right here on the side. It would be horrible if it didn't, because then you have to record everything over Wi-Fi, and that pretty much just makes the drone useless at that point. And here is the battery. We'll pull that out in a moment. You can see where they may have had plans at some point of putting like an optical flow camera down here, but there isn't one. It's just you can see where they had a notion where they could. And again, this being 2-axis, it is because it's got your pitch stabilization and it's got your roll stabilization, but it doesn't have any yaw. The yaw would go this way. So you got your 2-axis there. And here is that battery. This is a 7.6 volt, so it's 2-cell, 2000 milliamp hour. So that probably may not be easy to read. I'll try to make sure we focus in there in the video. 7.6 volt means this is a high voltage Lipo. It has a little more power than your standard Lipo, and that is good. And it's going to use a USB-C connection here to charge that. We'll take a look at the charging cable in a moment to see how that looks like. So what I think I want to do now, before we get into any of the other stuff, is let's weigh this. So the easiest way to do that would be to fold these arms back in. That way it will all fit onto my little scale. Let's get an idea of what this guy weighs. So let me just grab my digital scale. Let's put this guy on here and see what it weighs. 277. So we are over the 250. Yeah, and that's enough that even if my scale is off, it's not going to be off by 27 grams. So unfortunately, this drone is going to need registration in the United States, and it's going to fall under a lot more restrictions because it is over 250. You know, it's difficult to get these drones down under 250, but you know, it's unfortunate they weren't able to on this. I'm sure that they tried, but still pretty lightweight. So let's take a look at, you know, this is the extra battery, so no reason to look at that. Take a look at the controller, and then we'll take a look at the accessories. In fact, let's do that now to see, you know, what the charging cable and such. It may just use a regular USB-C cable, and then the battery probably handles the voltage cutoff and stuff, so it doesn't overcharge. So let's see what is inside here. I got it taped up pretty good. You can see we got our pretty standard Phillips screwdriver in here, and it looks like we just got some cables. So we got some extra props, and this looks like this is our USB-C cable. So yeah, any USB-C. This is nothing special about this. So any USB-C cable will work then to charge it. That means that the battery itself, this battery itself will handle. It'll light up, and then it'll turn off the light or turn to green or something whenever it's fully charged. So you don't need a special cable. So if you lose a cable, it doesn't matter. You can use any USB-C cable. And here is the controller. Now, this does take batteries, and I don't have any in there right now, so it isn't rechargeable. I don't have to pop it open to see. Maybe let's go ahead and grab the screwdriver and see. Maybe that way I can just grab a couple batteries off the shelf, because of course, like I said, I'm doing this with you guys just like you'd get it in the mail. So anything I tell you is just going by my previous experience of 5+ years of reviewing drones. And it's going to take 4 AAA batteries. Power this up, and I think I've got some AAA batteries around here, but I have to go grab some. So you got your screen here, and this is going to be like your auto takeoff and landing, and we'll take a look at the instruction manual here in just a moment, so I don't tell you anything wrong. But this manual should show us. This is going to have some basic telemetry information on this digital screen, and I think this is going to have a wire in it, and it does. This antenna here is legitimate. This is real. It's holding up this wire, so it's going to help get extend your range and distance. But this one right here has nothing in it. So the left antenna is phony. It's just for looks. But this one is you make sure you have your right one up, is what I'm getting at. You can see we got our rates here, high, low, our photo video button, and this one right here clicks. So I have to see, it may be your gimbal tilt, but it doesn't actually turn, which is bizarre. So let's take a look at the manual. That way we can also see what app this uses. So there'll be, of course, instructions in here on how to calibrate the compass, because that's something you got to do usually every flight, but you got to do it at least once unless you travel over 100 miles or so. Most of these cheaper drones force you to do it every single time. So there is the package contents. And let's make sure we got this focused in here. And here are those controls. So your power button is right here. And it says, of course, a long press to turn it off, short press to turn it on. And down here, this is your gyro calibration. So when it's sitting on level, you can press this. That will tell the gyros to calibrate themselves, that whatever position the drone's sitting in at that time, it thinks that's level. So make sure you are really level when you do that. It's sort of like it's like calibrating it out to 0, so that it knows that's what level should be for the drone, so that it doesn't tilt in the air. If it gets the gyros are messed up, the drone can actually tilt in the air. That's a short press. Now a long press on that same button will take us into the compass calibration, which is the most important calibration. But again, the gyro is still important, especially if the drone tends to tilt or sag on the side while it's flying. You want to make sure you do that. But a long press will take you into the compass calibration, and what that'll be is you'll do something where you'll spin the drone level and then nose up or nose down. Usually doesn't matter. And of course the arms will be folded out when you do that. Some of them have you spin your body in circles, but sometimes it doesn't matter. You can do it either way. Sometimes in the apps will tell you one, and then the instructions will tell you the other, and it still works. And over here you got your short press for your, like I said, your auto takeoff and auto landing. A long press is your emergency stop or your motor kill. It'll shut off the motors if you're going to crash into something. You want to long press that. And this is your GPS switch right here. This will let you switch between long press GPS and short press as you return to home. Okay, so that's interesting. Short press brings it home. Long press will let you go between altitude hold mode and GPS mode. So most people will fly this in GPS, but if you want to just fly a little sportier, you use your sportier when you turn off GPS, then you can just long press that. It'll probably beep and switch you into altitude hold only mode. But your main feature of this is going to be pressing this, a short press, and it's going to return home. Now, short press, if you bump the skeezy, you'd start sending your drone home. So it's a little odd that it's a short press, but usually you can cancel that out by just pressing it again and it'll stop. And you'll still have some control over the drone with the sticks, usually, at least the yaw control while it's returning home. And let's look at the top. Your tilt trigger. Right tilt up, left tilt down. So like I said, even this dial doesn't actually turn. You can hear it click. That will do your gimbal movement. It's a little odd. It ought to work okay, but most people are used to the dial actually moving here. And then that lets you actually tilt the gimbal up and down. So that's a little unusual. We'll see how well that works. Being that this is a nice brushless gimbal, but that means that the motors that power the gimbal are also brushless powered. Those are more exact, more precise. Hopefully it'll have a nice smooth tilt, not one of those jerk, 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 jerk. Now sometimes you can get a bit of jerkiness because the Wi-Fi you're using can be a bit laggy, I guess you could say, and it looks like it's jerking whenever it's just the Wi-Fi feed. So we'll have to see how that looks. And over here, you've got your short press for photo and your long press for video. Like I mentioned a while ago, short press does your photo, so in case you just bump it, it takes a photo, and then you hold it down for a moment and it'll start recording video. The app you'll connect to will also let you know you've started recording, and it usually starts a red dot and it'll start timing. And then this front bumper, or little button, is your speed switches between, it looks like it says low and high, so it's got two rates. So you can go with the higher rate, should be faster, be able to fight wind. Usually the yaw speed increases as well, though not always on these. So your lowest rate's usually going to be the rate you want to be in when you're filming, just because it's going to be a bit slower and not as jerky. And this is what the screen would look like here if we had it powered up. Your GPS signal, if you're in GPS mode. I imagine if you go into altitude hold mode, that will disappear. Could say A or something, it probably just would disappear. Your satellite count, they show this one, you'll hear 18, so it probably has GLONASS, Russian and US satellites, if you can get that many. Your transmission signal meter here, the drone battery and the transmitter battery, so the battery levels for both. Oh, here's your GPS on and off. So this is just showing your signal. I don't know why it says that, but this is showing you here whether you're on or off. So you're in GPS or altitude hold mode. I should have just looked down and I would have saw that. So that's kind of odd that they have both of those. And then here's some telemetry, your distance in meters from home, and your altitude or height that you are up in the air. So using these drones, the meters is probably going to be set at least on the controller. The app will probably tell us as well, and sometimes you can go in, if you're in the United States, many people here want to use Imperial, so sometimes the apps will let you change that, but I'm certain it's going to probably stay the same on your controller, probably in the app too, but it may not. What throttle mode you're in for the controller, I believe, which most people are going to be flying mode 2, so you don't want to mess with that. And your speed, low or high. So, pretty basic telemetry information here on the controller. How to install the battery and the props. And your phone holder, I didn't show you guys that it pulls out in the bottom, and that's where your phone goes sideways in there. And let's see if we can find any information on the app before we move on out to the flight review, which of course I've not actually done that yet. They mentioned charging here. Do they give any kind of estimated time? They don't. Right here, charging time is about 6 hours. These can take a long time whenever they're fully depleted. These hopefully are storage voltage, which will be more like 50%. So it may not take as long the first time, but if you run this all the way down, yeah, it's going to take a while, unfortunately. So that's unfortunate. So make sure you're using like a 2.1 amp or a good higher amp USB source. And here is the app download for iOS and Android, and it's called the HS for Holy Stone, HS Fly. So I'll get that app here on my phone, and I'll put a screenshot over here on the side of the video, let you guys see what that app looks like. Then it'll tell you how to connect to the Wi-Fi on your phone, and then open it to the app, and then pairing and everything. And then of course you'll get the feed of the video from the camera. It tells you how to calibrate the compass with that long press, and then you do these spins level and spin upright, and that the light combinations will change. I'll show you all that, guys, when we actually do the actual flight review here. That compass gyro calibration, how to start and stop the motors manually, both 6 down and in, and that auto takeoff. And usually you have to start the props and then press that button. Though some drones you press it and they will fire up the props as well. Speed switch, all the stuff we pretty much already talked about. So it does have low voltage return to home, and it of course have, if you lose signal, it's going to return to home. So if you lose the controller, it's going to automatically fly back. If the battery's low, it's going to automatically fly back. And if you press the return to home button, it's going to automatically fly back and land itself. And then some app features. You know, you're going to have your tracking, you know, following the person. We'll have to see, does it have, yeah, it's got locked follow me, and it's got follow me mode. So locked follow me is always oriented towards a falling target, but position the drone remains unchanged. So it's just going to be like sitting on a tripod and it's just going to yaw and follow you. That's all locked means. Follow me mode is where it's going to use the GPS in your phone to actually follow you as you walk when you're connected to it. So locked is more like a dynamic tracking, but it's pretty basic because the drone doesn't actually move and fly, because it requires a lot of processing power, and it's a lot harder to do on these cheaper drones. Some hand gestures and stuff you can use. A waypoint. Looks like you have some gimbal control within the app and all that good stuff, and some zoom. There's beginner mode. We're always going to make sure you turn it off when you start flying, because if you're not new to the hobby, you want to turn that off, or you're going to be capped on your distance and your altitude while you're flying. That's going to make it a lot less fun. And again, follow me, waypoints. It gets really in depth with all this stuff. Point of interest is your circle me mode. You're going to circle around an object if you want to film. Let's see, does it mention like the frames per second? I'm hoping this will do 30. It mentions in here you do your photos are 2560 by 1440 on your SD card, but on your mobile phone they're upscaled to 4K. That's odd. So your phone is doing the upscaling from the 1440 quality, which is still fine. Video resolution on your SD card is that same 2.5K or 1440p, but to your phone it'll save it as 1080p. So it's not upscaling the video on to your phone, but the video and photos you want to save is to the TF card. And the 1440p video ought to be pretty decent, and I'm hoping that it'll be 30 frames per second. It says the live view is 30. That's going to be the frames per second inside the app, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be that way on the SD card. But my guess is it will be 25 to 30. You really want 30. 25 you can live with. Anything under 25, forget about it. It's going to be garbage. All right, guys, I think we covered everything. We've really rambled on here. We're over 20 minutes now on this table review. I apologize, but there's quite a bit to cover when you get to these GPS drones, and I don't want to skimp on anything with these. So I think everything's covered now. Enough rambling on with this stuff.
The power of the dark side.